Is AI making the metaverse viable again? And this video is another Q&A answer that I'm doing for my viewers of Analyzing Finance with Nick. And I got a question really about this in an older video, is that what is the role of AR and the metaverse in terms of its future in the global economy? And I was really a big critic of the role of the metaverse because it just seemed like a newer, sleeker version of the old online MMO game Second Life, and it really didn't seem to provide much of a purpose, especially with current technology making it fully immersible, like you're in, say, like the Matrix. However, with AI now, AI is putting at risk a lot more jobs, particularly white-collar jobs and people accustomed to a certain standard of living. And so, as a result, the metaverse dream is kind of rising from the dead. However, in order for the metaverse to fulfill the role I expect it to, you're going to need to see much more advanced technological developments in VR and AR. The problem with VR and AR technology that has really prevented it from taking off, just from a recreational gaming perspective, and for other needs like as virtual replacements for travel and education and all of that, is latency and the lack of being able to completely dismiss the feeling that you are in a fake world and the headaches and other things it causes just from like feeling the fact that you're wearing a VR helmet and you're a little disoriented because of the latency of the virtual world compared to the real world. You would need to make it have the same equivalent sensation of like when you are dreaming and in a very vivid dream, so that like you can be stationary physically and be warped in this world, but at the same time not realize that you are where you are currently. For those of you who've seen Rick and Morty, the best example is, which in my opinion I think is the funniest skit in the entire show, is Roy, A Life Well Lived, where you're in a video game machine and you plug into this game and you instantly be transformed to who you are, to this guy Roy, who was born in like the 40s or the 50s, and you just live out the whole life of Roy. And then when the game ends and Morty takes off the helmet, he doesn't realize for a second that he was Morty. He thought he was Roy, and he's thinking about his whole life and his family in the virtual world. And once we get to that level of immersion, then I think that the AI and the metaverse the metaverse particularly is going to come back strong, because the metaverse is going to be the place where people who are fundamentally displaced and cannot adapt to the post-AI world, or refuse to adapt to the post-AI world, or just simply do not have the intellectual horsepower or minimum level of creativity or other sort of talent needed to have what people expect to be a first world standard of living in those times. The solution is not going to be just universal basic income and redistributing to all those people, because you'll still have the envy problem, especially in the age of Instagram. Even if you're getting your $3,000 to $5,000 a month check, if you see that somebody else who runs the AI company has a nice boat, or is able to travel to Europe every weekend, or has a more attractive spouse than you do, you're going to get angry. And that relative disenfranchisement is causing, I think, a lot of the depression in the world that social media is driving, but also is going to drive enough anger probably to eventually lead to radical populists getting elected or potential political violence, especially as the gap of the rich and poor, or those who are a winner from the leverage of AI versus a loser of the leverage from AI, continues to diverge. And so I think the solution that the elites would want to have and work with the technology providers to do so is to create an AI metaverse world where people can live in and not have the awareness and the reality of the fact that they are stuck in the bottom caste society. Could be like a real life version of Royal Life Well Lived. It could be like a Ready Player One type of scenario where people can go in and out of it. I think anybody who is curious about the metaverse needs to watch the movie Player One, because even though it's decent teen type movie, the premise of the movie is very important because it really is the extension of the metaverse and its fullest potential of how it would be used as a way to kind of be as a coping mechanism for the lower classes throughout the world. So that's kind of how I think the metaverse will have a role. VR, I think, as roles before that ultimate role as like the repository for those who have fallen behind and are unable to adapt technologically. I think that it also can serve like a more active form where the viewer still moves around and does physical things as a alternative to going to the gym. Like, what would be more fun? Like doing a workout class or just lifting weights, or you're playing a video game where you have to climb Mount Everest or fight wild monsters. Like, imagine how much more fun The Legend of Zelda would be if you had like holding a stick, which is like a virtual sword in the world, and you are fighting the bokoblins yourself physically, like you're a fencer or something like that, versus just doing it with a controller. I would certainly switch away from my Nintendo to something like that. It's just that the latency and the graphics are not good enough yet that the sensors can properly sense your movement, and it can feel like you're actually really in there fighting. You can even add a vest that has like a pain or a pressure simulator to make it even feel more real. And this, I think, will be the next stage of video games. And there are also socioeconomic consequences even to this. Like, if these video games feel so real and are so more interesting, one, I think this will be an alternative to fitness. I think it will be an alternative to modern real-life military training too, and other sorts of training, physical training for certain skills where maybe there's not enough people to teach all these things in a class or a seminar or pre-career training sort of mechanism. This thing could be used where somebody from the best teacher in this category from all over the world can teach a certain physical skill, and you can learn it in a virtual setting, which is a way to be safer and more mass distributed. And then also, if video games are that real and provide like these crazy realistic experiences, then I think the problem of video games kind of being a reduction of ambition for young men as they are currently would probably magnify. And if the virtual world is more fun and exciting than the real world, why would people want to participate in the real world? Like, as I said earlier in this video, I think that the AI and the metaverse could be the way of the losers of the AI revolution, and people who just fall behind economically to kind of escape and permanently just check out of society. But what if it's not just a thing for people who have to do it? What if people realize, hey, wait, the real world is brutal and it can be nasty and it's a lot more physically exhausting and less enjoyable? Maybe people will just volunteer and want to just plug into the Matrix. This is going to be one of the major socio and political issues of the day. One, is it right to plug people into the metaphorical Matrix or Ready Player One world? And two, will there be social and economic problems if either A, too many people plug themselves in, or B, the wrong type of people, the ones who should be building and operating the society for the next generation, decide to plug themselves in instead of those who cannot financially support themselves in the world, and who are the ones that the society wants to plug in. So these are kind of the dilemmas of it. So yeah, let me know what you think. Do you think I'm a little bit pessimistic about this? What are your thoughts about the role of AI, and do you think that AI is going to result in the revival of the metaverse? And keep in mind, this is not as far away as you think it is. I've talked to experts and people doing startups in this AR space personally, and some of them said that we may be soon as 3 to 5 years away from being able to metaphorically plug people into the Matrix. Scary if you think about it. Thanks for watching.